the new moon solar eclipse that is happening March 29th, apex at just about 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Times, is going to be a catalyst, folks. It is literally the beginning of a new cycle. And I am not one to sensationalize, but holy heck, we have some really supportive energies happening here in order for you to step into a more heart-centered, dharmic way of being. So let's get into it. We're working off of the energies that started in the end of February. So the last new moon that we had on February 27th was the beginning of this lunar cycle. And if you've been following my content on TikTok, you would be aware of the irregularities that we've been experiencing in the Schumann resonance since then. All sorts of waves of energy coming from the earth and also from the stars in order for us to shake loose the karmic baggage of the collective on a macrocosm level, but also on the microcosm within our being, because as within, so without, everything is one. We're all literally taking different aspects of the same energy and working through it, essentially. So that lunar cycle that started, the new moon was in Aquarius, and it was all about setting future intentions to move from the head to the heart and the solar plexus as the primary mode of operation. The full moon lunar eclipse that we had last week was the midpoint of that cycle, the highest point as far as the energy goes within the lunar cycle. And we did also have some irregularities with the Schumann resonance there. That was a very karmic full moon lunar eclipse because it was also involving the north and south nodes, which is still happening because those don't move very fast. So basically, with this new moon, the reason why I'm making this video a bit earlier than I do for these sorts of events is because I really feel like we need a bit of time to prepare or be aware of this if you're not already, because leading up to the new moon, we're finishing this lunar cycle, and it gives us an opportunity to release and literally shake off these old karmic patterns in order for us to step into this new cycle a little bit more spacious. Okay, so there's a lot going on here in Pisces, okay? And if you're new here and you're wondering what is going on with this wheel, this is true sidereal astrology, otherwise known as alchemical astronomy, because we're looking at the authentic placements of the luminaries, where they are in the visible sky. And when you do that, when you actually look at the stars, you can see that the zodiac are different sizes because the constellations are different sizes. There's also a 13th sign, Ophiuchus, included up here right over the galactic center. Essentially, this lens of astrology allows you to harness the authentic energies of the luminaries and etheric bodies so that you can evolve as a celestial being, whereas the tropical system is limited in that it only captures the lower cycles of Earth, the movement from light to dark, the seasons and such, which do deserve reverence, but there's more to life than just our human existence and the material world, right? So this lens allows you to actually connect with the celestial cycles so that you can evolve. So that being said, everything is in Pisces when you look at the visible sky, okay? Like everything is on this side of the wheel. Mostly everything is in Pisces. So when it comes to the apex of this event, new moon, always the sun and the moon are right on top of each other, but not too far away. We also have Mercury in retrograde, Neptune, Venus in retrograde, and Saturn, and the North Node as well. The North Node, and it's got the rising sign in here because I'm using a birth chart generator, but don't pay attention to that. So, because it'll be just after sunrise. So the sun will be rising just as this new moon apex is coming into being. And really, all of this is giving the power of intangibility, moving into a more receptive, expansive way of being. So we've got the sun and the moon, obviously, push and pull, right? The sun illuminates, the moon pulls things to the surface for us. And the new moon is always a time of setting new intentions, right? Like putting an intention into the universe in order for that to play out over the lunar cycle. And then with all this energy, as far as Mercury and Venus, both in retrograde, it's really giving pause as far as how we think, what we value, how we love, what we love, our relationship to ourselves, our relationship to others, our relationship to our finances. And then the North Node is our destiny, like the Dharma that we're moving into as a collective. And Saturn is the planet of restrictions and limitations. So it brings an energy of seriousness to this, right? Like it's not like, I feel like Saturn gets a bad rep sometimes, but we need that sometimes. Like, we can't just all be out in outer space, floosey-goosey, like having no structure. Like, we need structure in order for the magic to latch onto, right? So this is really giving the perfect storm for creation of a new heart-centered, intuitive, and magical existence, right? And then if you notice within the aspects here, there's nothing that is harsh. Like, all the lines are harmonious aspects. We've got a number of trines and sextiles. Basically, everything is working together in order to facilitate this movement from using the mind in a contracted, hardworking, to like give up your needs in order to get material gain kind of mentality into a mode of being cared for, and like less is more. Like, stop doing so much is really what I'm getting from this energy. So we've got support from Pluto in Capricorn. That's right, Pluto is in Capricorn, folks. Okay, and this is great. It will be here for the next 17 or 18 years at this point. And this is giving energy as far as the dismantling of these old, externally locused, oppressive structures based on patriarchal values. And again, that has nothing to do with gender. It just has to do with valuing the masculine, doing, contracted force. Remember that in the laws of creation, the law of three in particular, there's three opposing forces in order for anything to come into being. 1 part masculine doing force, 1 part feminine receiving force, and 1 part literal blank space. Okay, the best example of this is the conception of a baby. Okay, you've got sperm masculine, egg feminine, and the womb is the incubating space. So we're needing to dismantle these systems that are based on only the masculine. Okay, only the masculine is what we've been taught is valuable. That if you want to get something, you got to do it, right? You got to work hard, do. So many of us have such a hard time actually taking time off, because even when we do, we're guilting and shaming ourselves on a subconscious level or a subtle level, because this has been drilled into us for decades and generations that like the only thing that is valuable is hard work, when in actuality it's only one part of the equation. Okay, this might be a little bit of a crass or off color analogy, so if you're not into that, maybe fast forward the next 30 seconds. But an example of this that I often give in women's circles that I facilitate is that with this idea of conception, right? So we've been fed this idea as far as the law of three that it's all masculine, right? So when you're thinking about the act of conception, it's just like 3 dicks coming at each other. Hopefully that doesn't get censored, but you just think about that, okay? It's a funny visual. Nothing's getting done with that energy. Nothing's getting done with that, okay? Well, I mean, like, I guess something could be getting done, but you're not making a baby, okay? And that's the whole point, is that we need to dismantle these systems that have us doing so much. And it's not to say that we don't need to do it all, because you do need that element as far as the creation goes, right? And bringing the Saturn energy into the mix here, that is that masculine structure in order for the magic to latch onto. But as a society and as a collective, we need to focus more on the feminine receptive energy and the nothingness, the void, the blank space, the incubating force, because it's like absent in our current mode of operation, right? So it's not that masculine doing energy and structure and limitation is bad. It's just that we need more of the other stuff in order for the creation to be happening, okay? And that is what this event is a catalyst as far as that is concerned, in my opinion, based on the fact that all of this energy is in the most feminine, receptive, expansive sign of Pisces, okay? It's deep, dark intangibility. It is the void. It is the unknown. It's the oceans of our experience, the deep, deep watery feels, and expansiveness. So yeah. Now, there is also support coming from the other elements as far as the etheric bodies go. So we've got supportive sextiles and trines to Uranus and Mars here. So Uranus is the planet of innovation and freedom and shaking things up. It is Aquarian energy. Okay, that in the sign of Taurus is that you can literally change your physical environment by embracing the feminine receptive. How you be is what comes, and we have the ability to shake things up with our being, which will then trickle down into our physical environment. It just takes a little bit of time because the physical world moves a little slower than the etheric. We also have supportive elements happening with Mars in the late degrees of Gemini, which is really giving the ability to rewire your neural pathways. Mars is our sense of self, how we do things, how we assert ourselves. And Gemini is flexible, it's mutable air, so it's flexible thought. It's thinking differently, it's being curious, right? Curiosity is one of the best things that you can bring into your mindset and your way of being when it comes to trying to curate a new reality. Because if you're not curious about different things, you're not opening yourself up to different perspectives, and you're literally just going to do the same thing that you've done over and over and over again. Okay, so Mars in Gemini is really giving thinking differently, being differently, entertaining different ways of being, trying things on for size and seeing how it feels. And all of this is supporting all of this really expansive energy in Pisces. So yeah, like I said, I'm not one to sensationalize typically, but I feel like this is very important, folks, okay? And leading up to this event, depending on how it is hitting on your chart, you're going to be experiencing different things, okay? You might be, if you're somebody who's really embedded or fixed into a mental way of being, the old paradigm, materialism, working hard, not being able to rest, all of those sorts of things, having relationships that are of convenience instead of depth, things like that are going to be irritated, okay? You're going to have things happen or, circumstances come into being that are meant to bring your awareness to how these things are limiting you as far as moving from your head to your heart into a more expansive, feminine, intuitive way of being. So things are going to be pushed on in order for you to become aware of them, because by the time when we get to this new moon, we're going to be stepping into a new cycle, and you don't want to be bringing that shit into the future with you. You want to be letting go of it. And that, again, is why I'm making this video now, is because we have 9 days leading up to this. So we're basically tying up all the loose ends, shaking loose all of this freaking density, all of this karmic baggage, everything that is tying you to that old way of being. It's time to let that shit go. Get rid of it. Let it go. Decide to be differently. Journal about it. Burn it. Bury the ashes. Or, that's a pretty witchy way of doing it. But whatever it is, however it brings resonance to you, let that shit go. Decide to be different. And then as the new moon apex approaches, really get clear on what it is that you want to create from this more heart-centered way of being. And then shortly after the apex, set those intentions into motion. Now, I do have space. If you're interested in how this is interacting with your specific chart, I can do probably 3 mini readings before that. So this time is limited. My resources are limited as far as that is concerned. I do also have space still for 2 one-on-one clients if you're looking at a more integrative approach where I basically cover all of these different systems and we work together one-on-one in order for you to self-actualize, self-realize, and embody your most magical self. So if that sounds intriguing to you, why don't we hop on a call and see if we are a good fit? But I'm warning you, it is only for the true adept. You cannot enter into these containers holding on to belief systems and structures. You got to be open to shift into a new paradigm. So if you're ready for that, let's get on a call. Otherwise, if you're still listening to this, thank you so much for supporting me with your ears and eyes and heart, and I will see you in the next one.